Hello everyone, welcome to Models and Trains. This is my last video regarding my homemade Blue Circle trucks. In this video I want to feature some ERF and DAF trucks that the company use. So the first one is this one. This is an ERF EC11. So this is a 3-axle unit with a 3-axle trailer. So now we go into my model, and here it is. So this is something I had to make up from various parts. The cab came from Keebri in Germany, or it came from Germany. It's a Keebri cab. The tanker is a fell binder, that also came from Germany. The chassis I've had to modify and adapt to make it a 3-axle configuration. Also I've had to put the steering wheel on the right hand side for obvious reasons. So this is the closest I can get to matching the cab of the ERF EC11. So I just see it going around. So obviously I've added mirrors. The exhaust is in the right place, coming up from behind the cab. As I said before, it's not easy finding the parts to make as accurate as possible a model of certain trucks. So we stop it there. Now then, this is a feature I quite like. It's got a tilt cab, as all modern trucks have, and it reveals the engine. So I don't know what more detail I can add. I didn't put the airlines on this one. But anyway, that's an ERF EC11. On to the next one. So the next ERF truck is the EC12. These were 12 litre. Now then, the company had a policy of only buying British vehicles. When this ERF was on the road, it was a British company, but they later sold to MAN. So MAN used the ERF EC12 cab on a number of their vehicles. So here's my model of it. Now on the actual photograph it says Mastercrete. I couldn't replicate that, so I just put Blue Circle cement. That's as close as I can get. So the trailer has been made and modified to make it look like a curtain sider, the best I can. And again, the chassis has been modified to make it a 3-axle setup. So here's my model. Now this cab, like the EC11, came from Germany. It was a model of an MAN truck, but again MAN used the ERF cab, so I'm not cheating on that one at all really. So we see it going around. And this again was converted to right-hand drive. These were good trucks. ERF had an excellent gear shift system. You only needed the clutch to start and stop. I'll stop this now and then explain a bit more. So basically they were a 4-speed gearbox which could be split 3 ways. So you had low, medium and high range. So you had a total of 12 gears. And basically once you started off, you selected the next gear and then eased your foot off the throttle and put it back on, and it would automatically go into the next gear like a pre-select. It was absolutely superb. Far less tiring on the drivers to operate a manual gearbox. So that's a shame. This is ERF along with Foden have disappeared. They're no longer part of the UK trucking manufacturers. Okay, so on to the next one. There's a certain irony in the company policy of only buying British trucks. As I said, ERF were a UK company. Blue Circle bought the ERF trucks. They later became part of MAN, so then they went over to DAF, because Leyland DAF was still a British company. They were being made in the UK in the Leyland factory. So here's a model of a DAF truck that I couldn't find any room to put the decals on the cab. So anyway, so this is my DAF 95 replica 3-axle unit. Yeah, so when stop it there. When Leyland became merged with DAF, like I said, they were still being produced in the Leyland factory in the UK. So they were technically a British truck. So now we'll go on to the next one. Okay, this was actually the last Blue Circle model truck I made. So as you can see here, this is a DAF CF 3-axle unit. Here's my model of it. And this again, I hunted high and low to try and find the components to make this model. And again, the cab and chassis came from Germany, so did the fuel binder tanker. Anyway, I managed to get it together. So it's quite a good representation of, let's go back again, the DAF CF. And I believe it actually says DAF CF on it. So let's get this one going around. Yeah, so this was another one where I had to modify the chassis of the unit to get it to have a 3-axle configuration. These things took ages to sort out, trying to find, like I say, the cabs, the chassis, etc. The fuel binder tanks were quite easy to find from Germany, very hard to find in the UK. Let's stop it there. So like I say, this was an interesting one to make. It was difficult but interesting to make, the actual tractor unit, as they call them. Okay, so there we go. So that's the last of my homemade Blue Circle trucks. The next ones you'll see will be ones I bought. Okay, so thank you for watching. Bye now.